orange heat. Split it along there. Open it up. Now I don't want that V in the middle because a bull's horns go straight out from his head. They don't go backwards. So we'll take the V out. I do a few rams as well. If it was a ram, I'd leave the V in it because ram's horns do go back. But a bull's horns don't. They go straight out. So that's going to be his horns. Now we've got to get that real hot there. Really hot. Fold it over tightly to make his nose, make his head. It's warm in here today. Nice in winter. Right in the middle of summer. Those horns are a little bit thinner than the rest of the metal, and if I'm too hard on that forge, they're going to melt. Now, a longhorn bull with no horns just doesn't cut it, so I keep a bit of water there just in case they start to get too hot, and we'll just quench them, but we need a big heap of heat there to fold that over. And you don't want to melt the horns off. Makes it real cranky, especially when it's new with me. Length of his head. If you get that wrong, well, he's going to have a big long snout like a crocodile. So bend it over at just the right place, and that height gives you that height. Now we've got to fold that right back, which means a lot of heat on that corner. Big heap of heat there, but not on the horns. Gee, you're a quiet lot. Any questions, fire away. I'll see what we can do.
What sort of wood are you burning?
Good old bush charcoal. Whatever I can find. Complete with gum leaves, that's okay. I like to look for iron bark. It's hard and it's not as sparky as some of it. This is blue gum, I think, and it's very sparky. Yeah, it is like coal, but it's much lighter. It's very light. That's coal down there. Coal's like a rock. Charcoal's nice because it's very hot. It's clean, you don't get the clinker and the gummy stuff you get with coal, and it's free if you know where to find it. Because if you go, it's worth taking your time over it, because if it goes sideways there, you're really in trouble. You've got to keep that symmetry. When you do hammer it back, you always get those buckles sticking out on each side. So take those out. And that's the basic shape for the head of this bull. Yeah. So from there now, that's very square. You've got to taper it a little bit and put these flats on each side for his eyes to go on. We need those, get those sharp corners off there. So warm him up again and shape that head a bit. Once it gets to that, it must be a weekend, eh?
Right, still.
In case you're wondering what all those words are up there, that goes back to when we had international visitors. We don't get them anymore, for a while anyway. And I used to ask them, how do you say blacksmith in your language, wherever you still do it?
Oh,
I think so, but yes. that, or a ram like that, or a lizard or a snake or whatever it is, get those thighs level. Because if you've got one up and one down, they look mad. Anyone from Townsville today? They're mad. No Townsville people. That's a Townsville one. Crazy, mad, and that's how you do it. Eyes out of level. Townsville people are not mad, but they do have in Townsville a nightclub called the Mad Cow. And that's how you make a mad cow. Bottle openers. Yeah, my son's got a few of those. He lives in Townsville. He's not mad. Okay, so these eyes. Now to make the eyes, we've got to make sure that those horns are out of the way. If you can get burned on those, and I just do not like getting burnt. So we'll punch an eye there. That is an easy one. Now you've got to get the other one level. Go over to the other side, line it up very carefully, and then punch that one. So that those two eyes are level. Now, the thing is, with a hollow punch like that, it's a very round eye, but it has no middle. It's got no centre. It looks like you're staring into space. Now this is the tricky bit. Put a spot in the middle. And if you miss, again, you'll hit the cross-eyed, so it's worth being pretty careful to try and get that as close to the middle as possible. Sometimes it's not easy, but those two are out. Push that one up. Yep. A fringe between the horns looks good because these longhorn cattle have that. Draw this one. We've got to see if we can match them up. They've got to be the same on both sides. And when we think we've got them the same, it's easy to check into the vise and just put a divider in the middle, touch that side, and when that's touching, just spin around and touch that side. Done
Okay.
it. Yeah. It's good to have them the same size because for the symmetry.
Yeah.
Now they're square. You can't have square horns on a bull. I have to make them square to draw them. But now we've got to turn them into round horns like that. For a ram, I leave them square. I'm doing a ram. Leave them square and twist them like that and then curl them so that you get a twist form. But not for a bull, we've got to round them off. Now we've got the head. Now we can curve his horns because he's looking straight ahead. The twist is done with a twisting bar, especially for 10 mil. Especially made for 10mm steel, so that we can put our twist in. It's going to sit in the vise and twist that around. The secret of a good twist is that you must have the same colour all the way along where you want to twist it. It's got to be all orange, or all red, or all yellow, but not half and half. Because if you've got half red and half orange, the pitch will be different.
Yeah.
And it'll look horrible. Should be getting pretty close to hot. Have a look, see if we got some orange. And that'll give a nice twist between there and there. It's all orange. That's pretty much where we want it to be. So we'll just make sure we're ready. That's ready. That's ready. That's ready. And you don't have to be in a big hurry. It'll hold that heat for as long as we need to get it over there and twist it. It's when you're in a big rush to do things that you drop things, you get burned, if you're under pressure, you make mistakes. It's best just to go steady, steady, make sure you get it right first time. And that's very important with a twist because you cannot undo it. You can't mess it up and then say, oh, I'll go backwards now and undo it. It will not work. That's all orange. We'll get a nice twist along there. Make sure this hand's out of the way because that scale falls off and it's hot. Now, I don't care if it falls on the glove, but not on the hand. Okay? You might say that's a nice twist, or we might give it a bit more. You're going quarters, quarter at a time. I'm going to leave it there because that's the sort of twist that I like. Not too tight and not too long. But we must finish up with the twist parallel to the horns, not nearly parallel.
As engineers,
It's got to be parallel. Otherwise, the hook, when we put it on, will be off at an angle if you don't have that parallel. There's a nice little twist. You know it's okay if all the crests in the middle are the same distance apart. Longer on each end, of course, where it's a bit cooler. Now we've got to put a hook on. Hot in, cold in. Probably both. I'm not risking it. The horns haven't been in, but that's very close. And I reckon that's too hot to pick up. And we need to pick that end up to put that end in. It doesn't look hot. Good, that's probably all that glitters is not gold. The blacksmith adds on, all that's black is not cold. It doesn't look hot, don't trust it. Because it may well be hot enough to burn. And black steel will catch you out every time. Because you're not going to touch it if it's orange. Head upright. And we need to get that flat there. So, flatten it down first. Hammering down hard, really hard. Flatten it out. And then taper it, but not so hard. Hard down, not so hard on the edge. Because if you hammer hard on edge, it's going to fold over. And then you've got a hassle trying to straighten it up. So gentle on the edge, hard down. We're going for like a pear shape, like that.
Most of it's still, not just in the hand swinging.
Okay. Now we can peel that up. You'll notice when you're hammering hard on an anvil, if you're hammering really hard, say that's your piece of steel. I see these young fellas, you know, when they're starting off, they're real keen. They want to see what they're doing. They're looking right over the top and building away hard like that. It's dangerous. Because if that steel moved and you missed, you know what's going to happen. Hard hammer, hard anvil.
Comes back at you, right back
Yeah,
at you.
and it'll come back with a horrible force. You know, broken noses and black eyes and missing teeth, not part of the fun. So I tell them, get your right foot forward if you're a right-hander and stand to the side a bit. And if you do miss,
And you go straight back
not
up.
on the heel. Or don't miss. Do not miss. That was a big hammer, and it's left, you can't see them, but there are little hammer marks all the way across there. At a low heat, I'm going to take them out. less energy drain because it's giving you everything back into that. But you can see if you hit it with a hard hammer and your head's in the way,
Oh, yes.
you know, look out, because it's going to come back hard.
Yeah.
I could play with it all day, I love it. Okay, let's put our hook in. While I've been playing with that handle, I bet the end of that's got hot. So, before we bend it, I'm just going to quench that head end. It may not be hot.
Probably.
Why take a risk? Why take a risk for the sake of a couple of seconds? I want to hold that with this hand, so I'm right-handed. And now, behind the post is the pick-up point. Bend that round. Now that's a horrible hook. You can't get things off, it's just ugly. Put a swan neck in it. Now, it's still not right because you need to pick up point above here. So go backwards. Handy little tool. And that's got to be level with that. Just take it down a bit. Okay, quality control. You now have to check because if you make the heel too deep, it won't go under the hook. Yep, that'll work nicely. That'll work nicely. Pull out 10-piece, whatever shape you make it, doesn't really matter for 10-piece. It'll catch a snake by the neck if you're extremely stupid.
Yes.
It's still very hot, so I'm not going to touch that end, but we know that it's all right, so I don't have to change it, we can quench it. Give him a good old swim. Now I used to leave them like that, and that's fine, that'd work, beautiful. But the thing is, you like to hang these up, and not much good trying to put it on a nail through there, because the horns are in the way, and it won't be looking at you anyway. So what I do is put a little ring around the neck, so you can hang it up. Now I normally have got rings made, but I'm going to have to make one. It's very easy and very quick. What you do is get a spring washer, because they're smooth, not like a flat washer. But the trouble with a spring washer is it's offset.
The bend.
Yeah, you've got the bend in it. And you can hammer that all day long and you won't straighten it out.
No.
Because it does what spring steel does.
Springs.
Springs.
Spring. But there is an easy way. You know how you get that out of there?
Heat it up.
Get it hot. When spring steel's hot, it doesn't know it's spring steel. It has an identity crisis. All the molecules that are lined up to do that are random. They don't know what to do. And you can flatten it with one little tap. It doesn't take long to heat up because it's small and it's heavy. And then you've got to find it. Because in charcoal,
It
sinks down to the bottom.
the forge is that deep, it's going to migrate down to the bottom. We were doing this with school kids a while ago, and I said to them, we make tools in the blacksmith shop. What tool would you make to get that out? And they came up with this. They said, find a big long bulb or something and make it look nice and put a hook on the end so you can poke it into the forge and you can hook up whatever's in there and pull it out.
You certainly wouldn't use a magnet.
Well, I'm coming to that. This works very well. And one young fella said to me, why don't you, he said, what you need to do is get hold of a magnet and pull it out with a magnet.
Anybody that says
Like
what
this.
you need to do is...
And I said to him, well, that's a great idea. What a thinker. Good work, good thinking. But unfortunately, it won't work. And he came in and he grabbed it and he said, yep, look, it will. No, it won't. You can't let a kid wander off wondering. You just can't. So I got him to come in. He found the fisher outer up, another one, and he fished it out. Whoa, it's gone a long way down. I have lost them at times. Perry's. He fished it out, brought it over here, put the magnet on it.
Good stick.
Not magnetic. Once steel gets here at the village.
Thank you.
Thank you. And they say if you can sit on your anvil at the end of the day, you haven't been working hard enough. Because they get hot. And you don't want to sit on it when it's really hot. If you're hammering orange steel all day, don't sit on the anvil.